Sophia Mitchell, a 26-year-old black woman, moved between tables with calm steps. She wore a simple black uniform and a soft smile. Sophia was not just a waitress. She was kind, hard-working, and always respectful, no matter who she served. She didn't come from money. Her mother had passed away when Sophia was just a teen. Her dad, a factory worker, raised her and taught her one thing: always stand tall, no matter how small people try to make you. Sophia never forgot those words. That night, she had no idea that everything in her life was about to change. At table 7, 2 people sat waiting. Marcus Grant, a billionaire tech mogul known for being rude and impatient, and his date, Elena. He had sharp eyes, a loud voice, and a phone in his hand that never left the table. Elena wore a beautiful red dress, but she looked nervous. When Sophia walked over with their menus, Marcus didn't even look at her. Instead, he said, "You people always take forever. Do you know how valuable my time is?" Sophia blinked. She stayed calm. "I'm sorry, sir," she said gently. "Would you like to hear about our specials tonight?" Marcus rolled his eyes. "No, just bring the steak, medium rare, and tell the chef not to screw it up, got it?" Sophia nodded and walked away without saying another word. She was used to rude customers, but there was something different about Marcus. He didn't just speak loudly, his words carried poison. 15 minutes later, Sophia brought out the drinks. Marcus looked at the wine glass, picked it up, sniffed it, and set it back down hard. "Is this what passes for wine service now?" he barked. "You people work half as hard as you whine. Pathetic." The restaurant fell silent. Every table stopped chewing. The music seemed to fade. Elena looked down, her hands shaking slightly. Sophia stood still. Her hands didn't tremble. Her eyes didn't drop. She simply stared at Marcus, calmly, deeply, as if she could see through all the noise inside him. And then she said very softly, "You must be exhausted carrying that much hate into every room." Silence, not the kind of silence that comes and goes, the kind that wraps around the whole place and holds it still. Marcus blinked, caught off guard. "What did you just say?" Sophia didn't answer. She didn't need to. People at nearby tables started whispering. Some stared at Marcus. A few even nodded at Sophia. One man at a corner table pulled out his phone and quietly hit record. Elena stood up, her eyes wet. "I'm leaving," she whispered. "I don't want to sit with someone who talks like that." And she walked out. Marcus reached for her arm, but she was gone. Now, standing alone at the table, Marcus turned to Sophia and said loudly, "You'll regret this. I can make a call and have you fired in 5 minutes." Before he could say another word, the manager walked over. Daniel, a tall man with gray hair and a kind face, looked Marcus in the eye and said calmly, "Sir, please lower your voice. We don't speak to our staff that way here. If you can't speak respectfully, we'll have to ask you to leave." Marcus's face turned red, but he said nothing. He grabbed his phone, threw some cash on the table, and stormed out of the restaurant, alone. For a moment, no one moved. Then, a round of soft clapping started at one table, then another. Soon, the entire restaurant was clapping for Sophia, not loud, not wild, but with quiet respect. Sophia stood there, holding her tray, blinking back tears. Daniel put a hand on her shoulder. "You okay?" Sophia nodded. "I just wanted to be treated like a person." Daniel smiled. "You reminded all of us how to act like one." Later that night, Sophia walked back to her small apartment. She looked out the window and thought about what had happened. She didn't feel proud. She didn't feel brave. She just felt tired. She made a cup of tea and sat in silence. Then her phone buzzed, a text from her friend Lisa. "Soph, you're going viral. Someone posted that moment online. It's everywhere. Respect over wealth is trending." Sophia stared. At the screen, she turned the phone over and let it rest on the table. She whispered to herself, "Respect isn't something you beg for. It's something you carry." The next morning, Sophia woke up to the sound of her phone buzzing like a swarm of bees. Beep, buzz, ding, text after text. Missed calls, notifications. She rubbed her eyes and looked at the screen. Her heart skipped a beat. You're all over Twitter. Sophia Mitchell, Queen of Calm. Respect over wealth is trending. Girl, you're on the news. She sat up slowly, confused and nervous. Then she opened a link her friend Lisa sent. It was the video, a short clip of the night before when Marcus insulted her, and she responded with those now famous words, "You must be exhausted, carrying that much hate into every room." Millions had already watched it. Some people cried, watching it. Some cheered, others shared their own stories of being disrespected at work, and almost everyone said the same thing. Sophia didn't shout. She didn't cry. She stood with strength. That's what real power looks like. News channels played the clip again and again. Big YouTubers made reaction videos. Celebrities tweeted about her. One actor even wrote, "Sophia Mitchell, please, run for president." Sophia felt her stomach twist. She didn't ask for this. She didn't want to be famous. She only wanted to be respected. At Barclay and Pine, the restaurant was busier than ever. People came just to sit at one of Sophia's tables. They smiled and said kind things like, "Thank you for speaking up. You gave us courage. You reminded us what grace looks like." Sophia smiled, but inside, she felt overwhelmed. She told her manager, Daniel, "I didn't do this to go viral. I just wanted to be treated like a person." Daniel nodded. "And that's exactly why it's gone so far." One day, Daniel walked up to Sophia with wide eyes. "You won't believe this," he said, holding up his phone. "Look, someone had started a GoFundMe page for Sophia, a stranger, a woman from New York who had never even met her. The title read, 'Let's support Sophia, the symbol of dignity.' The goal was to raise $5,000. But guess what? It had already reached $72,000. Tears filled Sophia's eyes. "Why?" she whispered. Daniel smiled. "Because people believe in you. They see your strength, and they want to say thank you." Sophia shook her head. "I don't deserve all this." Daniel placed a hand on her shoulder. "Yes, you do." Across the city, Marcus Grant was facing a storm of his own. His company's stock dropped. His face was everywhere, in newspapers, on TV, and all over the internet. But for the wrong reasons, his PR team quickly put together a statement. "Mr. Grant deeply regrets his comments and apologizes for his behavior." But no one believed it. People could tell it was fake, cold, forced, just words written to save his image. A few days later, Marcus's lawyer came to Barclay and Pine. He didn't speak loudly. He handed Sophia an envelope with a note inside. It said Mr. Grant would like to donate $100,000 to a youth center in your name as a gesture of apology. Sophia read the note, then folded it slowly. She looked at the lawyer and said, "This isn't about his redemption. It's about responsibility." Then she added softly, "Tell him I'll accept the donation, but I don't want to meet him." That weekend, Sophia was invited to speak at a local youth center in Cleveland. The room was full of teens, boys, and girls who looked at her with big eyes and open hearts. Sophia stood in front of them with a quiet smile. She wasn't a celebrity. She wasn't rich. But when she spoke, the room leaned in. "I know what it feels like to be talked down to," she said. "I know what it feels like to be small in someone else's eyes. But your calm is your power. Don't let anyone take that from you. You don't have to fight loud. Sometimes standing tall and saying one true sentence is louder than a scream." One girl in the crowd, maybe 14 years old, raised her hand. "Were you scared?" she asked. Sophia smiled gently. "Yes, but I remembered what my father used to say. You don't need to raise your voice when you know your worth." The ripple effect kept growing. Sophia's co-workers started standing up for themselves in small ways. Customers treated waiters more kindly. A teacher in Texas even showed the video in class, asking students to talk about dignity and respect. Even Marcus, for all his coldness, began making quiet donations. Not to fix his name, but maybe deep down to fix himself. But Sophia stayed out of the spotlight. She refused all interviews. She didn't want a book deal or a reality show. When a reporter asked her outside the restaurant, "Why won't you take the stage and speak more?" she simply said, "I already said what I needed to say. The rest is for people to carry forward." It had been 6 months since that night at Barclay and Pine. Sophia Mitchell still came to work every evening, tying her apron, greeting guests with a smile, and walking between tables with quiet grace. But everything had changed. Not just for her, but for everyone around her. She wasn't just a waitress anymore. She had become a symbol. Not because she shouted, not because she fought, but because she stood still and spoke one clear truth. Even when people didn't say it out loud, they felt it when Sophia entered the room. One evening, an older couple visited the restaurant. They had flown in from another state just to eat dinner at her table. When they finished eating, the husband reached across and said, "You don't know us, but my daughter stood up to her boss last week. She said your name gave her courage." Sophia didn't know what to say. Her hands trembled a little as she poured them more tea. The woman added softly, "You reminded her she was not small." The donation Marcus made in Sophia's name helped build something real. A small youth center in the middle of Cleveland was transformed. New books, art supplies, a music room, and even a wall covered in quotes from kids who felt seen for the first time. And right in the middle of that wall was a photo of Sophia, not looking fancy, just her in her waitress uniform, smiling slightly, eyes strong. Beneath it, the words, "Your calm is your power." Sophia Mitchell, the center even held a weekly program called Quiet Power, where teens practiced how to speak up without shouting, how to lead with kindness, and how to respond with strength when facing disrespect. Sophia came sometimes. She never stayed long. She would read a story, listen to a few kids, then slip out quietly. But every time she left, someone felt stronger. One afternoon, Sophia received another letter. Handwritten. It was from Marcus. "I've spent months thinking about what I said. I grew up thinking money meant value. You showed me what real value looks like. I'm not asking for forgiveness, but I wanted you to know I've stepped down from my company. I'm working with local schools to teach emotional intelligence. To young men, I'm trying to listen more than I speak. You don't owe me anything, but you changed me. Thank you." Sophia read it twice. She didn't cry. She didn't smile. She just folded the letter and placed it in her drawer. Later that night, she told Daniel, "Some people can change, but it has to come from them." Big TV channels kept asking to interview Sophia. "Come share your story. Tell us how you felt. Let us film your day." But she always said no. One news host got frustrated and said, "Why won't you let the world hear from you?" Sophia smiled. They already did that night in one sentence. The host didn't understand, but the people who truly listened, they did. Years passed. The world moved on to other stories, new trends, new celebrities, new viral videos. But here's the truth. Sophia Mitchell was never meant to be a trend. She became something much deeper, a reminder that you don't need power to stand tall. You don't need fame to make a difference. You don't need to raise your voice to speak truth. Sophia kept living her life, quiet, steady, strong. Sometimes she helped young girls pick their first job. Sometimes she gave out food during holidays. Sometimes she just listened to people who felt invisible. One day, Sophia stood at a park near the youth center. Kids were running, laughing, chasing each other. A little boy fell near her bench and started crying. Sophia leaned down, wiped his tears, and helped him up. He looked at her with big brown eyes and asked, "Are you the lady from the video my mom showed me?" Sophia blinked. She smiled gently. "Maybe." "What did the lady say?" The boy thought for a moment, then said proudly, "She said, 'Your calm is your power.'" Sophia nodded, touched his head gently and said, "That's right. Don't ever forget." As the sun set behind her and the world moved on, Sophia sat quietly on the bench, peaceful, strong, and full of meaning. In her heart, the words repeated, "Respect isn't something you beg for, it's something you carry, and carry." It she did, every day, without fame, without force, just quiet strength that echoed forever.